level below but close to 2% over the medium term and will underpin the firm.
And ECB dictatorship! And ECB dictatorship! And ECB dictatorship! And ECB dictatorship!
Hey everybody, I'm Christopher Green. You're tuning into AMTV, Alternative Media Television. It is Wednesday, April 15th, I believe, 2015. And Mario Drag Queen was abhorred by a protester that invaded his private space. He put his hands up, folks. He put his hands up. He was so scared when the protester threw confetti, jumped on a table right in front of his face. He put his hands up and was wearing a t-shirt that said, "End the dictatorship." The dick. I guess that she didn't have a Venus. You would understand if you watched my previous video on Hillary Clinton. In fact, go ahead and watch that if you haven't already. So the president of the ECB, which is in the process of QEing quantitative easing until infinity, taking and running on the heels of the shenanigans that have been implemented here in the United States, 0% interest rates, was affected by this protester that jumped on a table, threw confetti, and was wearing a shirt that said something along the lines, "End the dictatorship." And, you know, it's just a sign of the times. It's also a sign of what we can expect more of. Expect more of these bureaucrats, these technocrats, to be affected by very public protests. Now, we could argue that it was kind of immature to get on a table, you know, and start throwing confetti. And I would agree with you, it is pretty immature, but it got the point across and it served its purpose. Also in the news, Hank Paulson, former Treasury Secretary that helped usher in TARP, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, which was really just essentially bank bailouts paid for by U.S. taxpayers, was interviewed on CNBC this morning. Says he's worried about asset bubbles. He says he's got superb confidence in Janet Yellen, you know, people like her and Mario Drag Queen, but that he's worried about asset bubbles. It's almost as if, he says, that Wall Street, bankers, and traders and the Federal Reserve are addicted to 0% interest rates. You know, it's kind of like heroin. Those 0% interest rates, they just love, folks. You know, I talked about yesterday that we are living through a monumental asset bubble in bonds, in stocks, in the dollar, and all of this will come to an end. Although I think we'll see even loftier valuations in the short term. Expect it to blow up in all of our faces. Expect it to be worse than 2008, 2009. There's still opportunities though. I mentioned that yesterday in the video that I did, and also mentioned this months ago, said that there was a value play in the oil sector. Notice that good news came out of the IEA report today, and oil is up to new intermediate highs. And some of the companies that I mentioned, again, are rallying hard. You see, it's a casino. You need to understand that Wall Street and the financial markets, it's a total casino. But you got to be kind of cynical about it too, and understand that the hedge funds, you know, these institutional managers borrowing at zero from the Fed window at 0% interest rates, has to put their money somewhere. They've got to gang bang the hooker that makes up the financial market today. And it's exactly why they artificially manipulated oil prices into the doldrums, and now they're moving in. Companies like BlackRock, large multi-billion-dollar institutional companies, are buying drillers, offshore drillers. They're buying up the oil patch, oil-related investments, the commodity itself specifically. And it's presented tremendous opportunity amidst all this bubble talk from people like Hank Paulson, which really are just criminals. In fact, likely he could potentially hold the next position of Federal Reserve Chairman post Janet Yellen, depending on who becomes president. Also, Ron Paul notably warned yesterday that the dollar is in a huge bubble, that not potentially, but we will get a collapse in the US dollar. It's the largest, most monumental bubble that any of us have ever seen. You know, people think people like Ron Paul and myself, and those of you tuning in that understand Economics 101, are crackpots for understanding that we're living in a gigantic makeshift bubble. spurred and spawned by, again, these criminal policies at the Federal Reserve. But nobody wants to address the Fed. You know, it's outlandish if you call for an audit of the Fed. And what we really need is an audit. We need to abolish it. We need to end these criminal practices. Because again, at some point, Americans, institutional investors around the globe, countries that we do business with, and I think this is already happening. I mentioned with the establishment of the AIIB, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, see the videos I've done on that. Countries, people, and financial markets are losing confidence. And that's all it takes for a country to collapse. We saw this with the disintegration and destruction of Russia, for example, the USSR, not too long ago, and it's happening here in the United States of America. We are finally going to get a taste of our own medicine. But party on, folks, while the party lasts, while the bubble and valuations continue sky high into the stratosphere before the inevitable pop. I'm Christopher Green. Get this video out everywhere, hard hitting it in your face, end the dictatorship of the ECB and the Federal Reserve. Share this video, again, like and favorite it. Peace.